Hello again and welcome back to Module 2, the second of 4 parts looking at the Scrum 2021 updates. I've called this Scrum Focus, so let's make a start right away. Now, let's tell you some of the stuff that you know, and that's that Scrum is a lightweight framework that helps people, teams and organisations generate value through adaptive solutions for complex problems. You probably remember that definition. Now, so Scrum depends on proficiency in 5 values. Again, this won't be new to you. That of commitment, focus, openness, respect, and courage. Now, these values give direction to the Scrum team with regard to their work, actions, and behaviour. The Scrum team commits to achieving its goals and supporting each other, while they are also open about the work and the challenges with stakeholders. The Scrum team members respect each other and expect them to be capable, independent people. And finally, the point here is that the Scrum team members have the courage to do the right thing, to work on tough problems. So the Scrum Master is responsible for fostering an environment where a product owner orders or sequences the work for a complex problem into the prioritized product backlog. Again, you're familiar with that. Whereas the Scrum team turns a selection of the work, some part of those features or user stories from the product backlog, into an increment of value during a sprint. And the Scrum team and its stakeholders inspect the results and adjust as required for the next sprint. And so it continues. So the Scrum artifacts and goal progress must be inspected frequently to detect undesirable variances or problems. Again, all of this is not new. It's merely focusing on what is going on here. So the emergent process and work must be visible to the development team and those who are to receive the work itself. And frankly, if aspects of a process deviate outside the acceptable limits, you might call that tolerance if you will, or if the product is unacceptable, then the Scrum team would adjust the process being applied or indeed the materials being produced. So let's keep our focus on the Scrum team then. It is they who commits to achieving their goals and, as I've said, supporting each other. The sprint work has a primary focus to make the best possible progress towards these goals. The Scrum team and its stakeholders are open about the work and challenges, and that Scrum team members expect each other to be capable, independent people and are respected as such by the people with whom they work with. And the Scrum team members have the courage to do the right thing and to work on, as needed, tough problems. And remember that commitment is the heart of Scrum. The commitment of the Scrum team to deliver value, to reach goals, to solve problems and to support each other in doing so. So going back a few slides, this refers to the 5 values we touched on: commitment, focus, openness, respect and courage. Now let's come to one of the tightening up of definitions within Scrum, and that refers to the Scrum Master. And you can see why you need to know about this, but it's merely a tweaking or a tuning rather than a significant change. Scrum tends to refer to the word a leader who serves rather than a Scrum Master being a servant leader. The difference is subtle but important. You see, the main purpose of the Scrum Master has been to significantly improve team performance. Not just for the team. The definition is now expanded to helping everyone understand Scrum theory and practice, both within the Scrum team and the organisation. So you'll find a difference in emphasis in the definition of what a Scrum Master does. It's now broadened out, as I've just explained. So this would also include the leadership aspects of the Scrum Master, including possibly providing training and coaching throughout the organisation in its adoption of Scrum. In other words, the Scrum Master is seen as a champion for correctly implementing Scrum throughout the organisation. So understanding this expanded role of the Scrum Master is key to understanding why the term servant leader has been replaced by leader who serves in the broader context, as I've just explained. So effective Scrum Masters do more than just facilitate Scrum events and service impediments, as previous versions tended to focus on. So the Scrum Master is also proactive and do what must be done to help the Scrum team and the organisation achieve great results. You can see why they're a sort of a champion of the implementation of Scrum. And the second tightening up is around the team itself. Now let me explain. In the 2010 version of the Scrum Guide, it referred to two teams: the development team, that's those who did the work, and the Scrum team. This was the development team plus the Scrum Master and product owner. And right there is where some misunderstanding could occur. And by the way, just before we move on, the new Scrum Guide talks of the development team, as I will throughout these videos. And the development team is a term that most likely emanates from software development teams. Of course, these days Scrum can be used for any type of project, even one having nothing to do with software. So from my background, I tend to think of the development team as being the specialist team, simply meaning the team is still the folks who make the products or services, but they're chosen because of their specialist knowledge, skills and expertise in the ability to be able to create such products. It's a small point, and it's certainly nothing that you should worry about. So let's focus on this slight difference of focus. There is now just one team, and it's called the Scrum Team. It focuses on exactly the same objective as you've learned already, with different sets of accountabilities, keyword, for the product owner, Scrum Master and developers. So again, this latest version merely tightens up the wording in terms of emphasizing the accountabilities within the Scrum Team, which now consists of product owner, Scrum Master and the development team itself. And on that same point, there's a second tweaking, tuning, refining, tightening, if you will, and that's around changing the wording from the Scrum Team being self-organizing to self-managing. That's the key word. Okay, let's see what that means. Now, development teams were described as self-organizing, meaning they chose who performed the work and how the work was carried out. Fair enough. Now, the emphasis refers to a self-managing Scrum team, and in this respect they choose what to work on, who is going to do it, and how it will get done. So the team self-manages to deliver on their accountable commitments in order to meet their goals. And as a project manager, something that I've been aware of, and that's that because of the self-managing nature of Scrum endeavours, an organisation which after all is usually there in some form of business, expecting to make good business decisions, and having projects which are merely being made up as they go along, even though that was an interpretation of the truth, it certainly meant that there was some nervousness about just throwing money at a Scrum endeavour rather than a traditional project which would have a project manager and a more structured and controllable process wrapped around it. So by calling them self-managing, this cools down such unnecessary worries and concerns. Because I have to say, in the past, it could happen that using self-organisation was merely an excuse for those involved, the team, to avoid meeting goals and commitments. Not so. And because of that, this tightening up and changing from self-organising to self-managing is a big step to improvement. Very good. So there's a good place to stop. In the third of the 4 modules, I shall be introducing part 1 of more Scrum changes. So thanks for your time and attention. Meanwhile, from me, Dave, it's bye for now.